Folks, it's getting harder and harder to ignore that low hum of economic anxiety. The American dream is starting to look less like a house with a white picket fence and more like a dilapidated shack held together with duct tape and hope. We're all paying more for, well, everything, while wages sit there like that one friend who never offers to split the bill. Stick around, because in this video we're diving deep into 15 signs that Americans are, to put it mildly, freaking out about the economy. And if any of this resonates with you, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index is essentially a giant, depressing thermometer measuring the temperature of American economic optimism. And right now, folks, it's reading a solid "holy crap, we're all doomed." This index recently took its biggest nosedive since the 1980s recession, plunging from 84.9 to 59.4. What this tells us is that Americans are seriously worried about the economy. So the next time you hear someone say, "Oh, it's not that bad," just whisper, "University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index," and watch their face drain of all color, because trust me, it's that bad. Let's talk inflation, shall we? That insidious little creep that's been stealthily emptying our wallets. A recent survey revealed that 62.8% of Americans are genuinely terrified of inflation, completely eroding their living standards. And if that weren't enough, 32% of Americans are convinced that 2022 is going to be even worse than 2021, economically speaking. But here's the real kicker: wages have remained stagnant. It's like being stuck in a never-ending game of economic whack-a-mole, except the moles are winning. Now you might be thinking, what does the conflict in Ukraine have to do with my grocery bill? And it's a fair question. The conflict in Ukraine has sent shockwaves through the global economy, and America is feeling the tremors. Energy prices are soaring, supply chains are in shambles, and inflation is having a field day. A recent poll revealed that 67.2% of Americans fear their financial health will worsen due to the conflict. The situation in Ukraine is a tragedy on multiple levels, and the economic fallout is just one piece of the puzzle. Let's play a little game, shall we? I'm going to list off some everyday items, and you tell me if you've noticed their prices going up lately. Ready? Gas, groceries, rent, utilities, clothing. According to a recent Kaiser Family Foundation poll, 55% of Americans cite rising prices as their biggest concern. It's like we're trapped in a real-life game of "the price is wrong," except Bob Barker isn't here to offer us a consolation prize. Experts are predicting that inflation will continue to rise in the coming months. So, if you've been considering investing in a piggy bank, now might be the time. Remember the good old days when our biggest financial worry was whether we could afford that extra shot of espresso in our latte? A recent survey revealed just how deep this anxiety runs. 71% of Americans are worried about gasoline and transportation costs. 58% are worried about medical bills, 50% about utility bills, and 47% about food prices. This constant financial anxiety is taking a toll on our mental and physical health. Congrats, America. We've officially created an anxiety economy where worry is the only thing that's booming. Remember when we were kids and our parents told us that if we ever needed anything, we could always ask them? Well, it seems like America's healthcare system didn't get that memo. 51% of Americans have put off or gone without necessary medical care due to the cost. We live in a country where people are literally choosing between putting food on the table and getting the medical treatment they need. As healthcare costs continue to skyrocket, more and more Americans are being forced to make impossible choices about their health. Our healthcare system isn't about caring for people, it's about profiting from their pain. Remember that feeling you got when you were a kid and you knew you were in deep trouble? Maybe you broke your mom's favorite vase. Well, that's pretty much the feeling Americans have about the economy right now. According to CBS polling, 60% of Americans say the economy is in very bad shape. The economic indicators are bleak, consumer confidence is plummeting, and experts are warning of a looming recession. It's like we're all strapped into a roller coaster that's heading straight downhill, and the only thing we can do is hold on tight and hope for the best. Remember when a trip to the grocery store was a relatively pleasant experience, back when you could fill your cart without having to take out a second mortgage? Thanks to a cocktail of supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and corporate greed, food prices have skyrocketed. A recent survey revealed that 87% of consumers are feeling the pinch of food inflation. So the next time you're at the grocery store and you see someone having a meltdown in the cereal aisle, just give them a knowing nod. Let's be honest, folks, when the going gets tough, the tough often turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. A recent survey revealed that nearly a quarter of Americans are drinking more alcohol to cope with the stress of inflation. While a little bit of stress relief can be helpful, relying on unhealthy coping mechanisms can actually make things worse in the long run. It might be time to explore some healthier ways to manage your stress, like exercise, meditation, or, screaming into the void. Remember when you were a kid and you'd put off doing your homework until the very last minute? Well, it seems like Americans are applying that same procrastination strategy to their adult lives. According to NPD Group data, 43% of consumers are putting off big-ticket items like cars, homes, and vacations due to rising prices. But here's the kicker. This delay in spending is actually contributing to the economic slowdown. It's a vicious cycle of economic anxiety and delayed gratification, and it's enough to make you want to curl up in a ball and cry into your ramen noodles. Remember that feeling of excitement you get when you finally save up enough money for something you really want? Maybe it's a new phone, a down payment on a car, or even just a fancy dinner out. Well, inflation is here to crush your dreams like a bug on a windshield. According to Data Essential, 96% of Americans are feeling the squeeze of inflation, with 48% reporting that they've had to cut back on spending. It's like we're all stuck in a never-ending game of the price is right, except the prices are always wrong. Remember that feeling you get when you watch a horror movie and you know something bad is about to happen, but you just can't look away? That's pretty much the vibe Americans have about the economy right now. According to a recent USA Today poll, 51% of Americans believe that the U.S. economy is already in a recession or depression. The economic indicators are flashing red, and many Americans are bracing for the worst. It's enough to make you want to invest in a bunker and a lifetime supply of canned goods. Remember when the most outrageous crime you'd hear about was someone stealing a shopping cart full of groceries? Well, folks, buckle up, because in the age of inflation, even petty theft has gone pro. We're talking gasoline heists, copper pipe pilfering, and even a brazen daylight robbery of a 58-foot bridge. When people are struggling to make ends meet, they often resort to desperate measures. As inflation continues to erode our purchasing power, we can expect to see even more cases of petty theft, grand larceny, and everything in between. Remember that game we used to play as kids, Red Rover, the one where two teams hold hands and try to break through each other's lines? Well, the American economy is starting to look a lot like that game. The top 5% of income earners in the United States now account for as much consumer spending as the bottom 80%. That means that a tiny fraction of the population is driving the economy, while the vast majority of Americans are struggling to keep up. When so much wealth is concentrated in the hands of so few, it creates an imbalance that can lead to economic instability. It's like building a house on a foundation of sand. Eventually, the whole thing is going to collapse. Remember that feeling you get when you're driving and you realize you're going in the wrong direction? You know you need to turn around, but you're not sure where you went wrong or how to get back on track. According to a recent Desert News poll, 72% of Americans believe that the nation is on the wrong track. From the economy to healthcare to political polarization, there's a sense that things are broken, and no one in charge seems to know how to fix them. It's a crisis of confidence, a loss of faith in our institutions, and a deep-seated fear that the American dream is slipping away. So there you have it, folks, 15 signs that Americans are, to put it mildly, freaking out about the economy. The growing frustration and dissatisfaction among Americans are palpable. We've been told to tighten our belts, work harder, and be patient. But for how long? How long can we be expected to tread water in an ocean of economic uncertainty while those in power sail by on their yachts of privilege? We need to demand better from our elected officials, hold corporations accountable for their greed, and most importantly, support each other. The time for change is now.